Ladies and gentlemen, there is a scam so profound that it is ripping the soul out of ambition itself. I call it the world's greatest scam, not a fraud in your wallet, but a fraud in your mind. They sold us a lie so elegant, so eloquent, that we mistook it for truth. A lie passed down through boardrooms and classrooms, etched into family dinner tables and motivational posters. A lie so well packaged it wore the suit of wisdom and the perfume of progress. And that lie, ladies and gentlemen, is the world's greatest scam. You see, we were told, get good grades, go to a good school, get a good job, work hard, retire well. A neat, tidy formula, a clean path, predictable, safe, but the truth is that formula was designed to manufacture obedience, not greatness. To produce followers, not leaders. To nurture fear, not innovation. The scam wasn't in the steps. It was in the belief that those steps would lead to freedom. The system was never built to serve you. It was built to survive you. Somewhere along the line, we stopped asking questions and started accepting conditions. We surrendered ambition for approval. We traded risk for reputation. And in doing so, we subscribed, willingly, to the scam. We confused activity with progress. We mistook motion for momentum. We believed that being busy was the same as being productive. That's not productivity, that's performance. A performance designed to keep you distracted, disconnected, disempowered. And so, we chase titles, promotions, job descriptions as if they define us. But a title without purpose is just decoration. A job without fulfillment is a cage, and a life lived in quiet desperation is not a life. It's a sentence. They told you success is linear, that it's about climbing a ladder. But what they didn't tell you is the ladder's leaning against the wrong wall. You get to the top, only to realize you're in the wrong building. You've sacrificed years, relationships, health, and peace. For what? Applause from people who don't even know you. Validation from systems that don't value you. That's the con. That's the hustle. They don't steal your money. They steal your mind. But here's the part that stings. We co-signed it. We nodded along. We played along. We smiled when we wanted to scream. We said yes when we meant no. We showed up not as who we are, but who they told us to be. The scam worked because we didn't challenge it, because we feared rejection more than regret. We feared failure more than mediocrity. But let me ask you, what is failure really? Is it trying and falling? Or is it never trying at all? Is it being laughed at for your audacity, or being forgotten for your silence? You see, the greatest scam is not just systemic, it's psychological. It's not just external, it's internal. The voice in your head that says, you're not ready, you're not enough, what will people say? That voice isn't yours, it was planted by a world that profits from your self-doubt, from your insecurity, from your silence, and that silence is expensive. Every time you mute your potential to fit in, you pay a price. Every time you dim your light to make others comfortable, you pay a price. Every time you delay your dream to wait for permission, you pay a price. And let me tell you something, that price compounds. So what do? How do we escape the greatest scam? We start by rejecting comfort disguised as safety. We start by questioning the script. We start by defining success on our own terms, not inherited definitions. You were not born to be average. You were not created to comply. You were built to create, to disrupt, to shift paradigms. They will call you arrogant. Let them. They will call you rebellious. Wear it. They will call you crazy. Embrace it. Because every system that's ever been disrupted was first denied. Every truth that's ever changed the world was first resisted. The scam ends when you choose to see it. The scam ends when you stop living passively and start living intentionally. It ends when you realize that no one is coming to save you, because you are the one you've been waiting for. Your voice is your power. Your story is your weapon. Your purpose is your rebellion. Don't waste another minute sleepwalking through a dream someone else designed for you. Tear it down, rebuild, rewrite, reinvent. The greatest scam is not that they lied to you. It's that you believed it. But now you know. Now you rise. The truth is not always beautiful, but it is always necessary. And in a world obsessed with convenience and comfort, truth has become the enemy. We've replaced truth with niceties, substituted facts for feelings, and traded clarity for consensus. We live in times where people would rather be flattered than confronted. They want validation, not transformation. But here's what nobody's telling you: the truth doesn't care about your feelings. Truth doesn't show up to be liked. It doesn't apologize when it knocks at your door at 2 a.m. and tells you your life is going nowhere. It doesn't whisper, it shouts. It doesn't wait to be invited. Truth crashes the party, turns on the lights, and exposes everything you tried to hide in the dark. And that is why it is so rarely spoken. Because truth is offensive. Truth is inconvenient. Truth does not beg for approval. And most importantly, truth holds a mirror, not a mask. You see, the reason most people live small, play safe, and die with potential unspent is not because they lacked opportunity, it's because they were never willing to face the truth. The truth about who they are. The truth about what they've become. The truth about what it will really take to get to where they say they want to go. They say they want change, but they avoid the pain that precedes it. They want the crown but refuse the cross. We live in a society addicted to half-truths. Follow your passion. They say, nonsense. Passion is not enough. Passion without discipline is just noise. Good things come to those who wait. No good things come to those who work, who bleed, who outlast. You don't get what you deserve, you get what you demand from life. But they won't tell you that because the truth is hard to monetize. It doesn't sell tickets. It doesn't stroke egos. It doesn't trend. But truth builds empires. It breaks cycles. It sets you free. There's a truth you already know but pretend not to. You know your job is killing your spirit. You know that the relationship you're in is draining your purpose. You know that your habits are betraying your ambition, but it's easier to blame the economy, blame your parents, blame society, because as long as you blame, you don't have to build. As long as you deflect, you don't have to decide. But let me say it straight, your excuses are lying to you. They're keeping you comfortable, safe, average, and they are robbing you of the life you're capable of living. People think telling the truth is about others. No, it's about you. The courage to tell yourself the truth is the first act of freedom. It is the rebellion that births reinvention. It is the moment you stop performing and start becoming. Because the real work begins not when you change your job, your city, your wardrobe, but when you change your mind, when you strip the narrative down to its core and ask the real questions. Who am I when no one's watching? What am I willing to suffer for? What legacy am I building in the silence? Truth doesn't always feel good. In fact, it almost never does. But that's not the point. The point is that truth heals. It rebuilds. It reintroduces you to the person you were before the world told you who to be. And when you begin to live by it, not just speak it, the world around you bends. They'll say you've changed. Of course you have. Truth does that. It demands change. It doesn't negotiate with comfort. It comes with a price. You may lose people. You may lose positions. You may lose the applause. But you will gain you, all of you. And that is worth it, because the truth is you've always had what it takes. You've just been lied to for so long you forgot. But you're remembering now. You're waking up now. You're choosing truth now. And truth, real, raw, unapologetic truth, will not just set you free. It will make you unbreakable. Let me tell you a story. A story not built on fantasy or fiction, but one that's wrapped in data, anchored in facts, and sharpened by reality. Because numbers don't lie, people do. Stories can manipulate, but data exposes. It holds receipts. And in a world that worships perception over performance, data is the only voice left that refuses to whisper. There was once a young man who thought hard work was enough. He showed up early, left late, ticked every box, followed every rule. But 5 years in, his paycheck hadn't changed. The title on his email signature stayed the same. Meanwhile, his colleague, less qualified, less disciplined, was now his boss. Why? Because while he was working in the system, the other guy was working around it. You see, the system doesn't reward the obedient. It rewards the strategic. Now let's bring in the data. A study by the Harvard Business Review found that 58% of hyper, Underperforming employees feel they are overlooked for promotion, not because they lack skills, but because they don't know how to navigate politics, communicate value, or build influence. Talent is not enough. Effort is not enough. The truth, value is perceived, not just delivered. And the data proves it. You want another one. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average person spends 90 hours at work in their lifetime. Let that sink in. 90,000 hours. That's more time than you'll spend with your children, your spouse, or your dreams combined. Yet most people spend those hours building someone else's vision, working on something that doesn't set their soul on fire. Punching in, punching out, and calling it a life. The question is not how much do you work. The question is what are you working towards? Because effort without direction is erosion. You think that's intense. Let's talk about entrepreneurship. Everyone wants to be their own boss. Sounds sexy, right? Until you realize that 80% of startups fail within the first 18 months, according to Forbes. But dig deeper. Look closer. The reason isn't always bad products or bad ideas. The reason is bad leadership, lack of clarity, poor execution, founders who were busy being busy instead of being focused, because hustle is not a substitute for vision. And passion is not a business model. Still not convinced? Let's talk money. A report by CNBC showed that 61% of Americans can't cover a $100 emergency, and this isn't just about income. This is about choices. Consumption over investment, image over substance, flexing over freedom. We buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people who don't care, and then we wonder why we're broke, not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That's not just bad budgeting, that's generational conditioning, and unless you confront it, you will pass it down. Now, here's where the story gets personal, because behind every day, a point is a decision. Behind every statistic is a soul. A single choice, made consistently over time, is what builds destiny. You can ignore the data, sure. You can pretend the system is fair, that hard work is enough, that your time is infinite. But life doesn't bend to your denial. It only responds to your design, and that's the shift. When you start to see the story in the numbers, you stop living reactively and start living responsibly. You stop being surprised by outcomes because you understand the inputs. You stop playing the victim and start becoming the architect. Because data doesn't just inform you, it arms you. It gives you power, precision, perspective. And in a noisy world full of narratives, those three things are rare currency. You want to grow, measure. You want to lead, analyze. You want to dominate, track. Because what you don't measure, you can't master. And what you can't master, you will always fear. The people who win. They don't guess, they don't hope, they know. They read the numbers like scripture. They learn from them, adjust, evolve, because they understand that success is not about luck. It's about alignment. Strategy, intention. So here's your choice. Keep telling yourself stories that make you feel better, or start using data to build a life that is better. Ignore the numbers, and you'll live in the fog. Embrace them, and you'll see the map. The difference between mediocrity and mastery is simple: the data. There comes a point when the mirror stops being a reflection and starts becoming a confrontation. That moment when the excuses no longer sound clever, when the blame no longer comforts you, when the silence starts screaming questions you've been too afraid to answer. That moment, right there, that's the threshold of radical ownership. And very few ever cross it. Most people don't want ownership. They want escape. They want someone to tell them it's not their fault, that the system is broken, that their past is to blame, that their boss is toxic, that the economy is bad. And yes, all of those may be true, but none of them are useful, because even if it's not your fault, it's still your responsibility. Ownership is not about guilt. It's about agency. It's the shift from, why is this happening to me, to what am I going to do about it? Because the moment you claim ownership, the game changes. You stop playing defense and start designing offense. You stop waiting for handouts and start building with bare hands. You stop surviving and start leading. You were not born to be managed. You were born to manage, not just resources or people, but your time, your energy, your mind, your decisions. The question is not whether life is hard. The question is whether you're going to keep outsourcing your power or take it back. You say your parents didn't teach you. Fine, teach yourself. You say your partner doesn't support you. Fine, support yourself. You say your environment is toxic. Fine, outgrow it. Your life is not a group project. You don't need consensus. You need conviction. And until you stop waiting for someone else to lead your life, you will remain a passenger in your own story. Do you know how many people are sitting on potential that could shift industries, build nations, transform communities, but won't? Not because they can't, but because they won't take ownership of the grind that greatness demands. Everybody wants to be exceptional, but nobody wants the accountability that comes with it. You want the power, but not the process, the glory, but not the grind. But here's the brutal truth. The world doesn't owe you understanding. It owes you nothing. You either build or get buried. You either lead or get led. And if you're not where you want to be, the most powerful question you can ask is, what am I pretending not to know? Because you do know. You know that waking up late is killing your momentum. You know that scrolling for hours is draining your ambition. You know that you've been playing small to keep people comfortable. You know you're capable of more, but you're addicted to your comfort zone. And as long as you keep denying that truth, you'll keep recycling the same year over and over again and calling it progress. Ownership is not sexy. It's not glamorous. It's not a motivational quote. It's ugly. It's lonely. It's confronting. It means admitting, I messed up. I delayed. I doubted. I tolerated things I should have walked away from. But in that admission lies the blueprint for transformation. Because what you own, you can change. What you run from, you repeat. You think leadership starts with others. No. It starts with you. With what you do when nobody's watching. With how you talk to yourself in the silence. With how you respond when life slaps you with chaos and nobody's coming to save you. That's where ownership is born, in the dark, in the quiet, in the discipline. You don't need more motivation. You need a mirror. You don't need more likes. You need more standards. You don't need permission. You need permission from yourself. To stop performing, to stop pretending, to start acting like the person you keep visualizing. Take ownership of your time, or someone else will consume it. Take ownership of your decisions, or life will default to average. Take ownership of your habits, or your habits will own your destiny. The world doesn't fear people with talent. It fears people with accountability, because those are the ones who don't make noise. They make moves. So the question is simple. Are you ready to stop playing victim and start playing architect? No more blaming, no more waiting, no more stories. Own it, all of it, and then build like hell. There's a fire in you. You know it, you felt it at 2:00 a.m. when the world is asleep and your dreams start shouting louder than your fears. That whisper that says, you were made for more. That ache in your chest that doesn't go away, no matter how much you distract yourself. That's not fantasy, that's hope. And if you're brave enough to listen, it will change your life. But let me warn you, hope is not soft. It's not weak. Hope is not some airy motivational quote you hang on your wall. Real hope is violent. It fights, it rebels, it refuses to die. It's that last breath you take when the world thinks you're finished. Hope says, watch me rise. Hope walks into the battlefield bloodied and bruised and says, is that all you've got? But hope alone is not enough. Because hope without urgency is delusion. You can't keep telling yourself one day. One day becomes 1 week. 1 week becomes 1 year. 1 year becomes your life, wasted, not because you lacked potential, but because you treated time like it was infinite. It's not. Your life has a clock on it, and every second that passes is one you don't get back. Let me be clear. Your dream has a deadline, and you don't know when it is. That's what makes this real. That's what makes it urgent. Stop walking around like you've got forever. Stop assuming you'll be ready when the time is right. The time is never right. It's messy, it's loud, it's uncomfortable. That's the point. That's where transformation lives. In the chaos. In the risk. in the leap. Too many people wait for the perfect moment to act. There's no such thing. Perfection is procrastination dressed up in a tuxedo. And while you wait to be perfect, someone else less talented than you, less intelligent than you, is out there doing the thing you keep dreaming about. Let me tell you what urgency looks like. It's writing the book at midnight after working a 10-hour shift. It's starting the business with no capital but unshakable clarity. It's showing up broken, tired, afraid, and still showing up. Urgency is not about panic. It's about priority. It's saying, I might not have all the tools, but I have a now, and I will not waste it. Hope says it's possible. Urgency says, let's go. Hope gives you vision. Urgency gives you velocity. Hope sees the summit. Urgency starts climbing, and both are necessary. Because let's face it, the world will try to beat the hope out of you. It'll hand you failure after failure. It'll laugh at your dreams. It'll bury you in debt, in doubt, in delay. But if you hold on to hope like your life depends on it, and move with urgency like your future is at stake, you become dangerous. You become unshakable. People will say, slow down. They'll say, be realistic. But what they're really saying is, join us in mediocrity. Sit at the table of average. Let go of your fire. It makes us uncomfortable. And that's exactly why you can't listen. Because the ones who change the world, the ones who rise from nothing, who bend systems, who birth revolutions, they never waited. They started, with doubt, with fear, with nothing but belief in their bones. They acted with urgency because they knew the clock was ticking, not just on life, but on purpose. So what are you waiting for? The perfect time, the right partner, more money, less fear. None of those things are coming. What's coming is another year of regret if you don't move. What's coming is another cycle of maybe next time. What's coming is the slow decay of your dream because you buried it under excuses. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can choose something different. You can decide, today, that you will not be another person who dies with their potential still trapped inside. You can be the one who looked the world in the face and said, watch me. There is hope. And there is urgency. You need both. Hope gives you the reason. Urgency gives you the rhythm. So breathe in the vision, feel the fire, and then move. Now, as I stand here, I want you to hear this. We are living in a world that wants to sell you shortcuts. The greatest scam is not about what you lose. It's about what you give up. Your dignity, your agency, your future.